Our words and our actions lay some of those reflections before us. Another reflection on water comes from a profound ancient Chinese text called the Tao Te Ching. It presents the concept of the Tao, which is the fundamental force underlying all existence. It offers guidance on how to live in harmony with the Tao through simplicity and spontaneity and non-action, which is in Chinese is Wu Wei. The Tao is described as the source and ideal of all existence. It is unseen, but it is not transcendent. It is immensely powerful, yet supremely humble, being the root of all things. The name Tao Te Ching translates in a number of ways, very roughly as the way of integrity, or the way of virtue and all things, or the classic of the way and its power. Tao could be translated as a road, or a path, or a way. In 81 verses or sayings, it delivers a treatise on how to live in the world with goodness and with integrity. An important kind of wisdom in a world where many people believe such a thing to be impossible. So the Tao Te Ching speaks of water in this way, and can you put number 8 up there? Verse number 8. The supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It is content with the low places that people disdain. Thus it is like the Tao. In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. When you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everyone will respect you. There's another one that I really love from the Tao. It is this: nothing in the world is as soft and yielding as water. Yet for dissolving the hard and inflexible, nothing can surpass it. The soft overcomes the hard. The gentle overcomes the rigid. Everyone knows this is true, but few can put it into practice. Therefore, the master, which is the master Lao Tzu or Zhuangzi or any of us, actually. Therefore, the master remains serene in the midst of sorrow. Evil cannot enter a master's heart. Because a master has given up helping, they are people's greatest help. And then that saying ends with the words, true words seem paradoxical. Zen Buddhism also speaks of water and much more in this way. What I do every day is nothing special. I simply stumble around. What I do is not thought out. Where I go is unplanned. No matter who tries to leave their mark, the hills and dales are not impressed. Collecting firewood and carrying water are prayers that reach the gods. So there's a simple version of that I discovered in a very cold 3-week January retreat in a rustic cabin in northern Minnesota when I was young enough to withstand the cold temperatures. And the words that I discovered were these: how miraculous and wondrous this! I haul water and I carry firewood. All water is one water. Water unites us. All water is one water, and it shape-shifts as it goes on and on in its unending cycle. The streams of our lives unite us with all the waters of the world. All life depends on water. That's why this common everyday element on which our very lives depend is sacred. In our thankfulness for water, let us remember to honor and cherish and care for it for our lives, for all life touched by water, and for those who come after us. Water is life. So, an explanation on the water ceremony. There are 3 empty bowls in front of us this morning. The first represents water, and it is the shallower bowl there, not because it's a shallow concept, but the first one there is on your left. That is for water from places that make up our lives, that perhaps you brought from somewhere significant this morning. The second bowl, which is the one on your right, represents our tears for those who suffer in our world, be it from lack of water of any kind, and for those who suffer from a plethora of other reasons. And this morning we can be especially mindful of Palestinians, of Sudanese and Afghan women, all who are dying of starvation, thirst, preventable disease, particularly for the Afghani women from being silenced and from weapons of war. The third bowl, our middle bowl, represents cleansing and renewal, gathered and poured out in the hope of a beloved community. It is into this third bowl that the water that we received this morning from you poured into one of the other 2 bowls, or into both bowls, which would be fine, that we will pour into the third as a hope and a prayer for water without borders and water without prejudice. And afterward, the children of the church will then help return the water back into the earth from which it came. So, reflecting upon the power of water, you then are invited to come up and either silently or with just a few words about where your water comes from, pour your water into one bowl or into both bowls. And for those of you who did not bring water and want to participate, there's a pitcher with water in it. Offer your prayers and your thoughts this morning for our community. Again, the bowls are for water from places that make up our lives, which is that bowl. I guess it doesn't matter. The water of tears that we pour out in sorrow, and the water of cleansing and renewal, our center bowl, which is poured out in the hope for our community and for the world to have water without borders and without prejudice. Before you come forward to pour your water, I want to say something about a word. And the word is remember. What's the opposite of remember? The opposite of remember is not to forget. The opposite of remember is to dismember. So, different way of thinking about it. To be torn apart. In our words and our actions this morning, we are remembered. Put a hyphen in between re and member. We are remembered. We are put back together again. We are made whole, even in our brokenness, as we remember the creating spirit that hovers over the waters from which all things began. Life is born through an ancient stirring, and creation as we know it continually springs forth. From water we are born. Water is life. Water reminds us of our abundance. Water also reminds us of our limits. In that way, it is like the Tao. Without it, our lives and communities cannot be sustained. Water reminds us of what refreshes and renews our bodies and our souls, both spiritually and physically. Water reminds us of our connectedness with all of life, with all creatures, with generations and eras before us and those yet to come. And water reminds us of our basic dependence on this resource and upon each other. Water is polluted out of ignorance and for profit. Water is hoarded and it is privatized and sometimes intentionally kept from others in need. We all thirst, and we can recognize our responsibility to share and protect this earth and its resources with all creation. So this morning we pour our waters together, offering our gratitude for all gifts of creation and our tears for those who suffer. May we listen for creation's voice in the waters. May we hear and feel and taste and see in this water and in our action life itself, without borders, without prejudice. So I invite you to come. If you would like to say just a few things about where your water comes from, you are welcome to do so. You guys want to come start?
Do any of you kids want to say anything about where your water came from? No comment? Thank you.
So yesterday, Sharon and I were in Sylvania Wilderness down on the Michigan-Wisconsin border, and our water is from Crooked Lake, where we went for a wonderful canoe ride. And this is part of the water that kept us floating.
This summer, my family visited a pond that is very special in our family. It's called Hot House Pond, and it's in Rhode Island. And when I'm there, I can almost feel generations of family around, and it's very special water. It's clear and fresh, and you can see right to the bottom, and has a silky feeling when you're in it.
There's a little stream that runs. If you walk up 7th Street, probably a lot of you have seen it, although it's covered in leaves now. But it comes down from somewhere around here in town, and it goes under 7th Street through a culvert, and then it disappears. And the funny thing is that nobody knows where it goes. It doesn't come out in the canal. People have tried to figure out where it goes, and they still haven't figured it out. It could be that we're drinking it, or that's the story. But anyway, indirectly, this water comes from there.
Can I have the mic?
Oh,
Thanks. That was a perfect reason for me to come up here. All right, I have two different waters. The first one in this bowl came from snow from Mont Ripley last year that I saved. I have things of water sitting in my cabinet. The other one, if you guys remember, goes back many, many years. I always take a sample of what will end up in this bowl today, and then I'll bring it back to the next water ceremony. So this jar of traveling water started, I think, in 2017, the very first water ceremony that I ever came to at KUUF. Wes's water today that he didn't want to talk about, one cup came off of the roof this morning. As we were coming in, he collected some water from the rain, and the other one came out of the fish tank. I asked him what the most important water in our house was, and that's what he said, was the fish tank.
Many of us belong to good organizations in our community that do good work, and one of those organizations is International Neighbors, where I see Miyoko, one of our members, on a regular basis. And they had a picnic this summer at Lake Roland to welcome people from all over the world who are coming to our community to go to Michigan Tech. And this is water from that picnic at Lake Roland.
This water is from the dock behind my son and daughter-in-law's home on Lake Superior here in Houghton, actually on the canal here in Houghton. And it's a reminder of how fortunate I am that fate has allowed me to live near my grandsons.
Hello, everyone. I have fond memories of Lake Superior. I would go to Lake Superior and just watch the waves go back and forth, and it would just calm me. Then I look down in the dry rocks and look for agates, which I love doing. I'm a rock hound. That's one of my special memories, that water brings me comfort. Thank you.
This water is from our pond that benefited greatly by the spring rain, almost too much, and it overflowed and brought the water table up quite a bit. And Dave had already planted 1/4 of our garden in potatoes, which proceeded to rot totally. And good news is he replanted, and they're doing fine, and we will get potatoes. So that's what I think of this water.
This year, Michigan Environmental Council and its fellow members are working to get a statewide septics code. We are the only state in the country that does not have one. As a result, all the rivers that have been sampled by the state have E. coli in them. And so at this point, we're facing a lot of resistance. And so the question is, do we want to take a chance and keep on doing what we are, or are we going to finally get people to realize that what they do has consequences? Thank you.
Sir.
Just to paraphrase, because I don't remember the exact wording, Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, 1962, the dedication is to Albert Schweitzer, and the quote she has at the beginning is something to the effect of, "We've forgotten what is essential, we'll end by destroying the earth." So your shirt says, "Water we love, respect," and what was the third word? Respect, thank, and love. So just I didn't bring any water, but I'm just going to pour from the pitcher. I mentioned, the old environmental saying that everything's related to everything else. It actually began with geography and then very quickly was appropriated by the environmental movement. I mentioned earlier the garden down at Kestner Park, the Kestner Park Native Plant Garden that the Wild Ones Keweenaw chapter maintain. And if you're not familiar, I encourage you to go to the Wild Ones Keweenaw chapter page and you can see all the gardens that they take care of. But sadly, we have to keep children out of the water down there, Huron Creek. And folks know Dave Watkins, who's often here managing the technology, chaired the Huron Creek Watershed Management Update just recently. And the water has PFAS in it, it has other contaminants in it. It goes through two old dumps by where the Pizza Hut is, and picks up all kinds of things there. So my hope is that at some point we can get that water clean enough by some engineering solution of some kind. And I say we've got civil engineers here in the audience. Some of them are very modest about their contributions, but we can get it clean enough that when we're down there working on the garden, I don't have to tell kids, you should get out of the creek. And they say, why? I say, well, because it's contaminated. And they'll say, what does that mean? And I have to try to explain that to them. So I guess I can stop there. But one organization I will mention, I know Dave is familiar with, the International Joint Commission, was formed by the Boundary Waters Treaty of 1909 to resolve water quality and water quantity disputes between the two countries, Canada and the United States. And they have a biennial conference on Great Lakes water quality, which is continuously addressing, and Folk years ago was a little keen on that. So, and others in the audience are also Folk members, Linda and so forth. So I'll stop there.
This will have to represent the water I meant to bring from Lake Linden, from the Lake Linden water supply. It's been a busy week and I haven't had a chance to get it. The water there comes straight out of the hills, fresh and clean, and it is so wonderful that we can produce water like that.
This will represent the St. Croix. Water from the St. Croix River remembers me.
Is there anyone at home zooming in this morning that wants to, I can pour water for you?
No,
Linda, go ahead.
I got my own bowl and I brought my water, which Jim and I collected yesterday. My bowl is a wedding present to us 61 years ago. And my water that we collected was from the Pilgrim River, from the Narra Boardwalk area. And after the service, I'm going to post a little Facebook book album of me collecting this water. Jim, of course, took the pictures in the album. So this is our water, one of many of our favorite places to walk in our neighborhood, the greater Keweenaw Peninsula area. It's in there now. Thank you.
Sherry, go ahead.
Jan.
I think Bucky called on Sherry to go ahead.
Oh, okay, I thought it was Jan. My water is from Puget Sound. I live on an island in Puget Sound near Seattle now. And I'm going to pour it into my That Woman from Michigan cup. You may remember that time, which a friend sent me. Let's see if I can get it. Well, anyway, it's got a map of Michigan and it says That Woman from Michigan. I'm very proud of this cup. So I'm pouring my water from Puget Sound into that cup because it's all connected. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jan.
Okay. My little jar of water is from my roof, so it will symbolically join the water from the KUUF building roof.
Let this water represent those offerings as well. What? One more. Ren, go ahead.
Yes, hi, I'm Ren. It's nice to be with y'all this morning. Paul is here with me too. I went out this morning and gathered some water from our rain barrel, which has been very helpful. And it allows us to water the plants, the geranium plants that are at the Baltic Honor Roll, which Paul and I have been doing that for years. So in honor of our veterans, in honor of life, and in honor of the remembrance, we too participated in yesterday's walk. And so, yes, water is life. Let us respect it. Thank you. And I have a special, I call it my Pebbles mug. I don't know if you can see it, but it is a special mug designed by a local artist. So thanks to all.
Yeah, I'm going to try to put all these together without returning it to the floor. So. And from our own water system in our new place, our new home. Please pray with me. Spirit of the creative powers of the universe, may we be thankful for the wonder and power and beauty of this earth, our home. May these waters we offer together be a blessing that unites the many forms of life into one embodied spirit. May we be truth seekers, truth tellers, and caretakers of what is sacred. May we be blessed in the comfort water provides. May we be afflicted with burden when water, this precious gift, is mistreated and taken for granted. May we be reminded of our dependency on water and other natural elements from which we are born and which sustains our living. As we bring our water offerings from our lives and from sources near and far, may we be reminded of how our lives flow together, bodily, spiritually, relationally, ecologically. May we remember the need to seek justice for all who thirst and to protect people and land from anything and anyone that threatens to misuse, withhold, steal, or pollute bodies of water. With humility, joy, and thanksgiving, we pray, amen, may it be so. A responsive reading for us today. Please read the italics as a congregation. Is it? It is, okay. Give thanks for all the waters that be, for bays and gulfs and shining seas, for rivers that flow like meandering snakes, for vastness of oceans, for Atlantic, Pacific, the Blue Aegean, and we cannot say this without saying the Great Lakes. For the Baltic, the Bering, and the Caribbean. For the Nile and the Niger and Amazon. The Mississippi, Missouri, and Yukon. For the Rhine and the Rhone and the Rio Grande. For the Thames, the Seine, the Shannon, the Po. For the Darling, the Uruguay, and the mighty Congo. May these giving waters and all the rest, with our careful tending, be ever blessed. And a closing prayer before we sing our closing song. Spirit of ocean and sea, river and pond, raindrops and morning dew, what grace your presence is among us. May we live in gratitude through posture and action. May we be faithful in returning land to its tenders, returning to right relationship with our own creaturely bodies, and returning our attention to the protection of this planet, that life may flourish locally and globally. And we say together, amen, may it be so.